Okay, well, I'll call the meeting to order. I ask you to stand with me and we'll say the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, I haven't heard the phone ring yet. We just proceed until
So Karen tells us that he's on line 1.
Okay.
That's all I got.
So, Katie called me, I guess it was Monday, and told me that Bob was not gonna be here, so you're stuck with me today. But I do wanna do something, well, okay, let's approve the agenda, and then I have another comment I wanna make. So any additions to the agenda, or Mike, you can move to approve it?
Yep.
You have a support? Yeah, there's a motion from Mike and a support from Kathy to approve the agenda. Any discussion or? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The agenda is approved. Well, I just want to say here we are, the day before Thanksgiving Day. As I reflect back on the last year here at the Road Commission, we've had a good year. And we've gotten lots of things accomplished, and it's been good to have Bob with us as our manager. We've all learned some things. We know that we have a lot of work in front of us, but what's the old saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. We got to keep plugging away and do what we can, and continue to make progress. So, not only a thank you to Bob and office staff and the guys, out on the road. Yeah, from the board, a big thank you to all of you for what you have done and continue to do. We've had our challenges, and certainly the loss of Cindy was a shock to everybody. And you might continue to keep her family in your prayers, especially at this holiday season. So, okay, the minutes. Minutes look good to everybody, or? Okay, well, minutes will stand approved as presented then. So we have the bills before us. What's your pleasure there?
Move that we pay the EFTs total $379,630.72.
And the regular?
Yeah, and the regular too.
For a total.
For a total $379,630.72.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, I support that.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
What was Alta equipment, the very first thing on the list? Track
Also,
horizontal shaft impact.
that's the crusher.
Oh, yes.
That was the wear part on the crusher that we're making gravel with.
Alright.
We have to pay for it. You break it.
We pay for fuel and wearables.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Is that a cheap excursion for making gravel?
What's that?
Is that a cheap excursion for making gravel? $35,000?
Well, that's,
That might be the rental. Is that the rental? I don't have.
no, I think, there was a shaft that was, yeah. And from what I've been told, and for whatever reasons, they have noted that, because it was a brand new machine when they started, that part wears out apparently fairly quick, and the part that they send to replace it with lasts like for ages. I'm like, so why aren't they putting that part in when they build the machine?
Right.
But from talking with Cody, the guy that's running it, he said that he's run into that a couple times now, where that initial shaft seems to wear out quickly, And then once it's replaced, he never has an issue with it again.
I'll be
So
doggone.
I'm baffled at that one myself, and I contacted Alta, and they're like, well, that's just the way it's made. I'm like, well, hopefully you change.
So back to my
The part
original
that's-
question, do you think that's a good deal?
Well,
Spend
it's-
$35,000 to make gravel?
Well, it's not helpful, but in the grand scheme of things, what we're spending to make that gravel is,
Well,
All right.
cheaper to get it.
it'll raise it a few cents a ton, what we're
I
making.
think we have to keep in mind, if we go back to, you know, when we made this decision. Hello, Bob?
Now you hear you. Now do it. Hello?
There
Hello, Bob, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you really well.
Okay, well, we can hear you as well. So
I'll just, yeah, go ahead.
we're discussing the payment of the bills,
Oh, okay, I'll just listen.
okay? So I think, Manager Bob, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've been paying like about $15 a yard for gravel.
More than that.
In that ballpark,
Okay.
depending on, yeah, where it's at.
And this crushing project, the cost was estimated to be somewhere in the range of $5 to $6 a yard.
And it may be 7.
7, okay.
We're
so-
still half of what we'll be half of what we used to pay.
Alright,
And the project, the goal was to crush enough gravel to last us, what, maybe 3 years or something, quite a large amount
Yeah,
of gravel.
when I get to my update, I'll kind of give you some insight
Okay.
on what that's gonna take, but yes, the intent was to try to get 3 years worth of gravel kind of build up. We're going through it quick though.
And if I remember right, I mean, I know I started in January of '21, and this is the first time we've made any gravel since I've been here. And I don't know how long it had been prior to my arrival. Bob, do you remember?
It's probably been at least 6 years.
Wow. Yeah, so it's something clearly we needed to do, and the economics are such that we needed to do it as well.
Now that 35,000 for that shaft was unexpected. I mean, I expected wear parts to be expensive.
Right.
That's a little,
yeah,
but I guess it is what it is, and it'll add a quarter to each ton. You know, in the grand scheme of things, depending on how many tons we make.
Yeah.
It'll add like a quarter per ton to take care of that, but.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion from Mark and support from Kathy to pay the bills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They are approved.
We're done.
Okay, then
Should be
we,
a third one. Is there 3?
I think.
yeah.
1, 2. Yep, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, so then we have the payroll.
I would move to pay the regular payroll of $110,249.92.
Support.
Okay, so I have a motion from Kathy and a support from Mark to approve the payroll. Any questions there? Any comments? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. we'll start it with you. Okay, so we move on to the treasurer's report. Katie,
Beginning cash and investment balance is $3,956,319.99. Total receipts is $726,037.89. Total bills and payroll is $489,880.64. Bonds and escrow is $10,250. CD reserve for 2 trucks is $629,182.61. Ending available fund balance is $3,553,044.63, and outstanding accounts payable is $26,467.58.
okay, any questions, comments on the financial report? Okay, so the treasurer's report will stand approved as presented. Public comments on non-agenda items. Alan,
I know you're out there scraping roads, I've seen you. Ridge Drive, we have one spot, it's on the top of the hill where the driveway comes down that we just recently had repair. You put a culvert in, and that just keeps going bad all the time. It's not a very big area. I actually feel that it needs some more limestone in there.
Okay.
The address is 5451, and it's right now it's pretty bad, potholes. Enough said on that. Blair Road, it's looking good, but we need some gravel. I'm hoping that we're close.
Well, that's something we need to discuss. Not that we can't, it's just I don't know if it's a good option right now.
Okay.
Cause it might wind up all in the ditch. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
That's in my.
we can come back to that under manager's comments.
And the only other thing I just want to mention is I received this, I've never seen this before, from the Michigan Department of Transportation. I've been invited to a traffic summit for Hillsdale County on the 29th. I plan on going, I just thought I'd mention it.
Yep. That's where all the, I guess you'd say the Act 51 recipients for Hillsdale County, basically send all their information to MDOT. They just put it in like a slideshow kind of thing, and then each unit of government can like say, this is what we did this year, this is what we're planning for next year. And it was originally intended for utilities, to be honest with you, so that they could attend and hear like, the city's planning to do this village is planning to do this, we're planning to do this. And they can kind of coordinate and schedule their utility stuff around it. That's really turned into just a presentation of what everybody's done for the year, what they plan to do next year, you know, with hopes that you can do some coordinating.
It says I can get a hard copy of it. Maybe I'll give them a call and take it back to my township.
I know we're still in the process of submitting all of our stuff to them. It's got like, there'll be a picture of the Camden Road Bridge and a few other things, but, yeah, they'll give you hard copies of that if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Alan? Okay. Anybody else? Doug?
Yes, I had someone reach out to me regarding concerns on Hog Creek Road. In particular, their concern was the school bus. If they live on the other side of the bridge that's been closed, it's difficult or it's not possible to get their children to the school bus pickup. And so they wanted me to bring that here, wondering if as well it was some kind of a temporary that can address that. So
I'll talk a little bit on that when I get it.
Okay.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so we'll move on. I don't think we have any standing orders, do we? No. Okay, so we'll move on to the manager's comments.
Go right to it, huh? Well, might as well start with Hawk Creek. So I did go meet with Allen Township at their township board meeting the other day. I did talk to the lady specifically, and I talked to her on the phone a couple times about the school bus, and she was using that, cause we had it narrowed down to 1 lane, 3 ton, and she was still using that to get a vehicle back and forth, cause she had to drop her, I think it was a daughter, at the corner of Hog Creek and 12th for the school bus, cause the school bus hasn't been able to go over that bridge since it got reduced to 3 ton. And so, I guess first off, thank you to the school for not trying to run a bus over that and realizing the bus exceeds that 3 ton, and they stopped doing that a long time ago. As it stands right now, there's really no quick fix or short-term fix for it. We've got at least one, possibly a second vendor to come take a look at, what can we do? So Bob Cran from Cran Timber Bridge has been asked to come down and evaluate that, just like he did Camden Road and probably some of the others. To be quite honest with you, it's kind of looking like that's probably going to be the quickest, cheapest, best fix for that particular bridge. We'll have to see when the quotes come in and that kind of stuff, but it's, no matter what, it won't be done until at least next year. So I did talk to the residents and the board that we would try to concentrate on what they called South Hog Creek Road, which is anything south of the bridge, and the connector roads that they have to take to get back to 12 or to get to where they're going. And we'll try to concentrate our graders and trucks to keep them in a little bit better shape, and even possibly try to widen out South Hog Creek Road a little bit. We're doing some deberming. That road's a little narrow for the traffic that it's trying to cover now. So in a nutshell, that's, the bridge deck itself is horrible. One abutment's bad. The most we might be able to save might be one abutment, but at that point, you might as well take them out and put timber just like we did Camden. I told them that would probably be in the 300,000 range to do a bridge like that, like Camden Road, which is about what it came out to be. And they didn't seem to, I don't want to say they didn't bat an eye, but they were like, okay, 150 for them.
Right.
They could, and they kind of asked if the board would allow them to pay for that over 2 years. They could probably handle that fairly easy. But again, that'll be something that we'll have to, once we get quotes, get to figure out what we want to do, then it'll be up to the board to make that call.
So that is a local road.
Yes, it's a gravel local road.
Yeah.
So the cost share is still going to be there, just like any other local.
Even on a bridge.
Yes.
I do have another question. You said at least 2024. Is it possible that I can use the word likely 2024?
That's your wording, but
Well, I'm reflecting what I'm hearing, and I'm trying to.
I would
Hoping.
hope, yes.
Hoping.
I just don't want to guarantee it.
Okay, so possible might be a word.
A lot of it depends on Eagle and what they find,
Yeah, if they find mussels and
salamanders,
that kind of thing.
Indiana bats.
So our budget won't be the issue for not getting it
No,
done?
our budget wouldn't be an issue. I think we can handle that.
Okay, all right. Don't we have 2 other bridges closed?
We've got the Territorial Road bridges, and then we've
Well,
got
they're working
Elm,
on those.
and then we got the Elm.
Oh, just the Elm Road, and that's more of a culvert situation.
And that's more of a culvert that hopefully we're gonna work with that farmer.
Okay.
They're gonna at least do the match on that.
Okay.
And
So those are the 2 roads we have closed because of
Yes.
bridges, and we're probably gonna address both of those. We would like to get them both addressed
Yes.
at very
Yes.
latest 2024.
Yes.
Okay,
I mean,
that's what I wanna know.
the issue, well, Elm Road, for example, the state has told us they won't even cost share fund on that one. I believe that's what they said last spring.
yeah, it's probably in the same boat as Hog Creek. They're not gonna do anything with Hog Creek either.
And so, to wait and hope to get approved for federal and state funding on either of those is not an option in my view.
No, I wouldn't
Well, I
say so
don't
either.
think that's not what the program is either.
No.
That's not
No.
what, nobody's advocating for that.
No, program is getting replaced.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Those are small enough structures that they step out of it. It's the $1 million structures and stuff that we try to cycle through them because we just can't afford that.
Well,
You know, a couple $100,000 we can figure out how to do, but
neither one of them gets the traffic that Camden Road or Territorial Road.
yes.
I'm a little surprised that I guess the state hasn't taken that position on the Likely Road Bridge that's north of Hartley. The one-lane bridge that has an 8 or a 10-ton load limit on it.
They scale or weigh them out and have their whole big scales as to how they rate them, and sometimes it baffles me too, so. I really thought we would get at least one this year, and was hoping for 2 and didn't get anything, so.
Well, we know that we have to keep trying.
Oh yeah, if you don't put in for them,
You're not
You're
gonna
gonna
get it.
get them.
it sounds like possibly one of them could be a good candidate for next year.
Right.
But we'll see.
The state does what the state wants to do.
Okay, proceed, Bob.
All right, was there any other issues or comments that you need on Hog Creek?
Thank you very much,
All right.
appreciate it.
All right, so I'm gonna go down through just, you talked earlier about, you know, some of the accomplishments the guys have done this year, so I'm gonna hit on some of those, just so you know.
Sure.
So if you just lump everything together, limestone gravel that we've done for all these township projects, and, you know, all year long, we've hauled gravel or limestone, whichever, to the different roads. That has totaled 45,000 tons of material our guys have hauled. This, in 10 to 12 ton loads, that's a lot of haul.
Truckloads.
They've busted butt to get all that done. Okay, which that kind of put us behind the times for getting paving and chip seal, you know, because that pushed everything out. So that's one of the reasons why we had to finish up so late on chip seal, but that's a lot of material to help.
And it needed to be done.
It needed to be done, and it needs to be done again next year, and that's gonna go into the whole gravel thing here in a minute. They've also completed 33 miles of chip seal, which is chip seal, fog, and paint. But the only thing we didn't fog, but we painted with bacon. That was the failure that we had, and we'll redo that one next year. It'll be added to the chip seal program for next year. We'll just redo it. As far as asphalt that our guys went out and laid for different spot patches, to include Montgomery Road that we just got done doing, they laid 8,000 tons of asphalt. That doesn't count anything that like Michigan Paving did, and so.
Or Gherkins,
Yes. So when they did like Montgomery Road, Camden Road, some of the little subdivision roads up in Somerset that got done, like Trail or whatever, and that doesn't count any of those. That's this is what our guys actually paved with our paper, you know. So again, a lot more work. They've done about 6 miles worth of ditch and deberm so far. We've got another 6 miles scheduled that the townships have asked for, and we've got contracts for. We're just going to keep plugging away at them and see how long Mother Nature lets us do it until it freezes us out and we can still dig. We can keep doing scraping and deberm and ditching tree work. This is our time of year for that. Yeah. To address Alan's comment on the Blair Road, we can put the gravel on there, but we run the risk of, if it's not packed down, which normally you like to have a little bit of traffic on it for a while before we start scraping in the wintertime, and it could get scraped right off. We can do either, but would you like to sit down after this and talk about it, and maybe we put some on now to get it firmed up and then put the rest on in the spring? Or we can discuss it. We can put it all on now, but I just hate to have to go through trying to dig them back out of the ditches come spring.
I'm gonna have to think about this.
Okay. We should talk about it a little bit later, I'll continue on for right now. Black Bridge Road in Jefferson is complete, so that's one that's done. We're working on Blair, we're working on Sterling. I'm having them go back out and re-ditch Sterling, cause it wasn't done to the Litchfield's liking. And after looking at it, I agree with them, it was kind of a V ditch cut in with a grader, and it needs to be, even though the grader will probably do most of it, it needs to be more of an easy maintainable ditch that, is a little deeper, that can handle water, but.
Was that a project that was done earlier this year, or was that in prior year that?
No, we've been doing it this year. We just started, once we got done with chip seal, that's when we went to all the ditch and deberms. And so once we're done with chip seal in October, that's when we've done these main projects. So Black Bridge, Blair, Sterling were the three top main ones that we've hit, and then we'll continue on for those. So we're still working on them right now, is what I'm saying. But
The reason I asked that question is there was a project that was done, it was either in 20 or 21 in Wright Township on Hartley Road, east from Waldron Road. And I think that's how they put that ditch in, was with the grader, and
probably a lot of them.
and there were complaints at the time, and there's been some since, and so at some point in time, it wouldn't surprise me that we may have to go back out and
eventually we need to do all of them.
Do that work, because the ditch really is, the road is far better than it was, but the ditch, in my opinion, really is inadequate.
Well, that's the way Sterling is, and I kind of talked to the township at their meeting, and part of it's bad on me, because I was kind of trying to not charge them as much, still get, because I talked to a lot of the township supervisors on the ride-alongs, and said, if we can get the berm off the road and get the water into some of the existing ditches, or get just something to get the water going, then, once we get the berm off, then we can work on ditching, because that's a lot of labor intensive, They were like, no, we wanted good ditches, we're ready to pay for good ditches, and we want them. So we're like, all right, so we're gonna go, the road itself is, I think they're good with the road.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back out and do the ditching, and again, that'll be one of those, do we lay the gravel that is intended to be on top of it now, or wait till the spring? So we'll deal with them too. So anyway, that's where that's at. Is he still there?
Yes.
Let's see, so I believe, Gary, you brought up, I don't know, a week or so ago about the Camden Road Bridge and not having guardrails and stuff.
Yeah.
And the comment about doing delineators, they should be there now. There should be 4 delineators on each side of the road, coming back 100 feet on each one, so that there's at least some kind of reflective delineation instead of just coming up on a duck bridge at night.
Good.
So that should be done. And good call. The Territorial Road Bridge closures, we've had some issues with the initial signage said road closed to through traffic, and people still, I guess, thought that they could call themselves through traffic until they got to the bridge and figured out they weren't going nowhere. And then they'd have to turn around their people's driveways and making messes on the road and stuff. So I contacted the contractor and gave them a break, and they agreed to, and they went out and put, they left the road closed or, for local traffic only, but they added road out of bridge or bridge out. So now you're going through a sign that's saying local traffic and the bridge, you closed the bridge. Something's closed up there, and if you go up there now, because I think semis and everything were figuring they could still get through there.
That's why,
And so,
if you recall 2 weeks ago, I wanted that bridge out sign there to begin with.
well, they did put it there.
Yeah.
So that's taken care of too. Let's see, on to the processing gravel at Watkins Pit. We're about ready to wrap that up, because of weather, everything gets too wet and the clay just sticks and plugs up the mill. We had the drone fly it the other day, and with what he's run since then, we should be close or coming up on 40,000 tons is what he's made this year. We're gonna button that up, haul it over to Shannon's Pit, and it'll probably sit there for the winter, and then in the spring, and then all the bills will stop, it'll just kinda get mothballed. And then in the spring, we'll have him open it back up, and we'll probably even have him crush some of the stone to give us some, like whatever size we want, 3/4 to 1 inch stone. And I did a contract with, that's what I need to bring. I didn't bring that. I've got a contract that I need you guys to look over, and basically it's for Shannon Excavating to make gravel in this pit and to crush some stone if we want to. And basically he gave us a price of $6 a ton for the stone, which right now we're paying $10 a yard. I keep saying a ton, but a yard. Right now, if we go pick up stone, he charges us $10 a yard. If we want to crush it there in the pit, and it'll have a pile sitting there, that'll be $6 a yard. And so he doesn't have to handle it. Cody, the excavation company will be handling it, so he doesn't have to charge as much. And then the gravel, to mine the gravel out of there is gonna be $2 a ton. And so that'll be added $2 a ton to what, like is getting done at Watkins Pit is what that'll cost us. So in the grand scheme of things, it's still $8-9 a ton versus the 15. So that's the contract. I've sent it off to McChrysip to get their approval on what liability coverages we need to make sure we're doing to protect not only us, but the contractor and the property owner. And then once they do that, you guys, I'll give it to you guys, you can sign off on it, and he'll sign off on it. It's dated for the 27th is when we can move things in there, but unless you guys have an issue with that, I don't think it'll be a problem.
So why are we using Shannon's gravel pits instead of our own?
None of them's available right now.
Why
We
aren't
have
they
Watkins,
available?
and then we still have to strip the overburden and trees, and as soon as we make some there, and we'll have it stockpiled there, then we're gonna, well, hopefully, the plan is this winter, we'll strip Pittsburgh Pit. And then there's like a big bank there, but then we've gotta take off the overburden and trees off the top so that we can process there, and so we're gonna move him in there after that. And so, we wanted to have 3 different areas of where the gravel's at.
And so if the crusher is going into mothballs, how are we gonna be able to get stone and gravel from the Shannon pit?
Well, we won't until spring. We'll have the Watkins.
So we're talking about signing a contract for materials for springtime,
Yes.
not for what we might need over the winter.
No.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. And so if this
A
is
lot of
for-
this is for future, even though we're gonna run through it. If you see like 45,000 tons we used this year, that's limestone and gravel together, so that's kind of inflating it a little bit. But we'll run through that gravel
Pretty quick.
within a few years.
So if we're not gonna do this until spring, we can't get the overburden off our own stuff first and use our own pit?
I don't know if we can get it off that quick.
Cause that's not something.
But we also want 3.
And that's not something we can do during the winter?
Though we're gonna try.
It depends
Yep.
on how much frost we get. I mean, that's one
Well,
of the keys.
that winter weather
Yeah.
availability, because if we got a lot of snow plowing, they're not gonna be able to be over there with the dozers and stuff to clear that property.
Well, if you had 2 foot of frost in the ground.
We also have to clear more property on Watkins Pit to allow for more processing there too.
Next year, when they
So
move back, what have we got? We got Watkins Pit, we're,
that's about it. Watkins, Pittsford, and
but Shannon's Pit, that we're paying him for
Yeah.
the material.
which in the grand scheme of things, $2 a yard
Yeah,
for
that's-
material
That's
isn't.
not bad,
No, that's a good price.
cause there's nothing left, up to Jerome. We own a
No.
pit up there, that's all done. What about on Moore Road? Is there anything left there?
No, from what Kevin's saying, there's not a whole lot worth processing in any of the other pits.
I see there's a lot of
We'll do some more,
there's a lot
like, we can do some more looking, cause maybe Bob has some ideas of where else, but
Well, at one point in time, Bob, I think in 2021, there was some talk about, potentially trying to buy another farm that had gravel pit potential, but that never went anywhere, correct?
Yeah, that kind of fell through.
And Stone
And
Cold.
anymore, if you're starting a new pit, the state has so many rules and regulations that whatever you pay for the pit, you might as well double it before you ever start getting any gravel out.
Wow.
and I think people realize that, and if you do ever find ground that's got good gravel on it, they know it and you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
So, cause gravel's going, down and down is what's available left.
Stone Cold's got Moscow tied up.
So anyway, that's the option. We don't have to crush stone. We can if we want to. But I'm kind of looking at if when they open it up in the spring, crush some stone to get it ready, because you can start doing that in some of the wetter, sloppier time frame. Get the bugs worked out of it for opening it up, get some stone crushed. By then, hopefully it's dried out and he can process gravel. And when he's done there, hopefully then Pittsburgh pit is cleared and we can move him over to Pittsburgh pit like in the fall to do something there.
So each year you're thinking about 40,000.
Well, I don't, that was just kind of the initial to get like 40 to 50 at each one of those places. And then we're gonna have to see where we're at budget wise, how much material we actually are using and do we need to keep processing.
When did they first move in to the Watkins pit and start crushing? Wasn't until June or July, was it?
No, it was later than that.
Yeah, it was like
Oh, later.
July or August.
I think it's like more August, September.
Yeah.
Because he was projecting to do, I want to say it was 4,500 a week. So it was going to take him like 10 weeks to do that pit. And he's about there. I think what he was estimating was there when we flew it with the drone. We don't quite match up. He thinks there was more there than what the drone says. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter that how much he thought is how much is there, and we'll assign a price based on all the things that went in to make it. So.
Did we use any of that gravel during the
We are right now. We're putting shoulders on Montgomery. Actually, they should be finishing that up today, and they're moving over to Jonesville Road. We're gonna put some shoulders on Jonesville Road with that gravel, and then that's all we're planning for right now. And all that's still gotta get put into inventory, and we're holding those tickets to, once it's in inventory and all done, we'll be able to charge it out.
I guess I would make this comment. I've driven Camden Road a couple times in the last 2 weeks. There's a number of places on Camden Road in that stretch where we have the detour from M49 east to South Hillsdale Road that needs gravel on some shoulders. I mean, there's some spots there that it's 6, 8 inches.
So those will probably have to, because right now I had the self-propelled shoulder machine from Jackson come down with some of their flow boys. Because our dump trucks can't dump into it, they would rip the airbags off the back. That's just the way they connect. So they're here, it's Monday and today, but that's all we're gonna have. So we'll have to do those with like a traditional shoulder belt off of a truck and do them like we normally would.
One load at a time.
Yep. So they did most of Montgomery in a day. They'll finish it up today and do probably everything that we need on Jonesville Road today and be done. But that shoulder machine and flow boys help immensely. But yes, we are starting to use the gravel. And we're going to use about 12,000 tons between those two roads on shoulders. So that's what I was going to get at. That even though it sounds like a lot, 40,000 tons that got made, well, we just used 12 on two roads,
30% of it gone.
Yes, exactly. So might sound like we're processing a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, we go through a lot.
But on the other hand, if we had to buy it,
Yes, one way or another, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna pay for it, is the price. Alright, let's move on here. I got the new, I should have brought it, the LOU from MDOT for this year's, winter maintenance. Really didn't change anything from last year other than the dates. They made the dates, I believe, the 4th of December through the 15th of April. And again, that's dependent on weather. We can adjust here or there. If you predict a storm coming in, we can put them on. But those are the dates that we'll probably have them on for night shift. This year I'm planning on probably putting 3 people on night shift. We can only charge out 2 guys for half the shift to the MDOT patrol. Other than that, they can do other MDOT functions or county functions for all 3 of them. So that's kind of the plan for this year, and hopefully we can hit a few more of those slick spots when Central calls in, get them done easier, get them done quicker. They can be out patrolling. The 3rd guy is going to patrol the hub while the state guys are patrolling the state trunk line. So we'll have kind of coverage all over the county to see what's going on and whether we need to call people in or what. So that's the purpose in that. Let's see. While we're talking MDOT, we got our annual adjustment, I guess you pay our invoice from MDOT for maintenance. And this year we got billed $72,000, where in the past we've received money back from them, and that's all in part of the whole, how they refund us for trucks and equipment and that kind of thing. So somewhere in the works, we've gone up to 72,000. It's the bill this year, and you want to try to get it. Well, it's kind of like your taxes. You want to get it close, right. But I always like to get the money, not pay the money. So we talked last year to MDOT, and we raised the schedule because they were paying us extra at the end of the year, and they wanted to reduce that. And so we moved the Schedule C rate from charging 75% of the Schedule C rate on our equipment to 95%. And so I think we're going to go back to 75% this year, and that way we don't have the $72,000 bill again.
Right.
So just so you know, that's one of the bills we'll have to pay, but we'll adjust it by adjusting the Schedule C rate back to where we had it. And I mean, different counties do different things because of the equipment they buy, how much equipment they buy. I want to say in Jackson, they charge 125% of Schedule C rate, and they still get money back because of how much equipment they're getting paid at the end of the year, that reimbursement. We haven't put a whole lot of trucks on because the trucks haven't come in yet. Right. When we get these new trucks, that'll help adjust that too, because then they'll be paying us, for that. So it's all kind of an ebb and flow there, but I want it to ebb our way, not flow up. Right. So we are looking to change the Schedule C rate back to maybe 80%, but we were at 75% in 22. So for 23,
24.
Well, in 23 we paid, so in 24 we'll go back to either 75 or 80 and try to get that back down to an even. Let's see. So we do have some vacant positions still. Of course, the AP clerk. I've got the job descriptions and stuff that I'm going through right now that we need to post to try to backfill that position. Right now we've got the 2 retirees and Sarah that have been all combining into learning and taking care of that for right now, but we need to fill that. And then we also have the 1 open mechanic slot. That's kind of one thing I wanted to talk to you about is we've got a couple of good applications that I see so far, and would the board be open to, if depending on how they go, hiring both? So we'd hire a fifth mechanic instead of just 4.
Can you tell me who they are?
I don't have the names right offhand, that's just off of their, one
And
is,
we haven't done interviews or anything yet.
yeah, I mean, I don't wanna say too much, one's a service tech from
And-
AIS that comes and services our equipment.
Videoing.
Oh, yeah?
And they
Um,
might not have, their employer might not know
Yeah.
they're looking at other
Right,
jobs,
sure.
so.
And the other one, he used to work he worked a couple places, but he used to work down in Tecumseh at the John Deere dealer. He's certified in all the John Deere equipment, and those two look very good
Bader and Sons.
now, but back then it was something else. We do have one mechanic that probably will be retiring within a couple of years, I would say. And if the way mechanics are right now, I'm thinking if we can find a couple of good ones to get in now,
Yep,
Better get 'em.
then when
they're hard to come by.
the one retires, just don't backfill it. You're back to your
Original.
original.
Either of these guys have CDL licenses,
Yes, they both do.
that's,
That's a plus right
Yes.
there.
Very, very hard to come by.
So we need to schedule their interviews to bring them in and actually, make sure they're a good fit. But from just the initial look, I think
So
we could wind up with 2 if
are
you
they
allow.
local or they live out of county?
One's local, and
I haven't looked at them, I have no idea.
I think the other one lives in Jackson.
No, that's not.
I think the AIS guy lives in Jackson, so he works out of AIS in Lansing, but he's also the one that
Right.
comes here and fixes a lot of our,
It'd be same distance for him.
probably. Yeah. And I don't know if they're actually both interested still. I mean,
Right.
we've had their applications for a little bit, so I need to make sure they're.
Need a motion for that?
No, I don't need a motion, I guess
No,
I
he
just,
just was informing us that
To hire
and
2.
I'll bring it back to,
Alright,
once we do the interviews and.
alright.
sounds good.
get him.
Let's see, I got an email from the Representative Fink's office. They are asking if we would set up a meeting with them. They said a few commissioners, a few of our employees, and some of the Amish community to discuss, I guess, they really didn't say, I'm assuming signage and that kind of thing for the Amish. So I will call them back and try to see exactly what it's about, but set something up. Do we wanna, are any of you interested in
I would be
sitting
interested in
and talking
meeting.
with them? I think, Chairman Godfrey.
Yeah, I would go.
Okay. I think he'd say, cause I mentioned that to him the other day, that they got that message. So, a couple of you to meet with, and I'll get with you guys, and,
Bob said he'd go and Gary said you'd go.
alright,
Fine
so I will work on that. And the other thing would be, we had MERS representative come in and talk with the guys, everybody, about some of their benefits and things they can do, can't do. One of the things that was brought up by a couple of the employees was they asked about Public Act 88, which is a reciprocal retirement, I'm not sure what they call it, but plan or act. So basically it's where MERS they said the county board or the road commission board has to approve, and it'd be a resolution that I'd have to bring in and do, to approve using Act 88, which would then allow, like, employees, if we hired one from another county and they've got a couple of years of service there, they per se wouldn't lose it. It could help them be vested here a little sooner. It doesn't count towards like any kind of payment, like it doesn't add to their multiplier. It's not like buying time. It's strictly to, I guess, vest somebody sooner. And it allows that time to be used. I don't know if the county uses that or not, but
I didn't hear.
Act 88, you guys?
I don't know about it.
Okay.
The county, other than a few people at the sheriff's department, are not in MERS.
Okay, well, then that, but Act 88 isn't necessarily just for MERS, it can be
Yeah,
for
it's not
any,
MERS.
it's a state act, and so it's for any retirement system, and usually they require it to be, like an accredited retirement system. I don't know if there's some out there that aren't accredited, but there's certain ones that are eligible, which being your MERS, you are eligible. And it allows, like I said, there's no cost to us to our budget. There's no cost to the individual. All it is using if you approve it, you use their time to vest them a little sooner. They don't get paid if they're here for 4 years and they use 2 of their years to say that they're vested. Then they only get paid for the 4 years when they retire, or whatever
That comes out of
whatever
us, that
that
we
comes
have to
from
pay.
us.
The other 2 years, if they accumulate that time at a different municipality, that place of work will be.
No, they don't. That doesn't get paid at all. All that is strictly for vesting.
Okay.
And if they're getting a retirement or if they're getting something from the other county, then that's totally up to that county. But for counting to here, it only, like I said, and if somebody worked here 6
Also
years,
adds the years.
doesn't make a difference. It don't even need it. You know, it's strictly to, like, I guess the way she explained it is more to attract people. You know, for like a recruiting kind of thing. That okay, you worked a couple of years here, you're not going to lose that. If you come here, you can at least be vested here a little bit sooner and be able to use it. But like you said, if you stay for 6 years and you're vested, it really means nothing. But and so I wanted to see if you're interested in doing that. I think it would probably be something that then we could offer for new people, or we got a couple existing ones that I think could benefit. But it would take a resolution that I could bring like to the next meeting. Or
You need a motion to bring the resolution?
I don't think I need a motion. I just want to know. I don't want to do the legwork and then have it.
I think we need more information, and that information would be is in the past 10 years, what impact would that have been on our employees and their vesting into MERS, and what's that impact on us long-term budget? Because if they vest, and it's about employee turnover. If you have employee turnover, if they're leaving after 4 years, they're not vesting, then we're not having a legacy cost. Whereas if they're there 4 years, they work somewhere else 2 years, now we have a legacy cost. And I'm not opposed to making a decision, but we need full information to make that decision, what the impact is.
There's very little online, and the act itself is like 2 pages long. I can print it out.
And we haven't had much turnover until this last 2-3 years when everybody started retiring. Because once they're here, no one's really. I can only think of one person that has left since I've been here that wasn't vested.
Well, like I said, over the last 10 years, I'd like to know, again, what that employee turnover is, because I think at the county, you have about 30% that are constantly turning over.
Yeah.
Are they still under the defined benefit at the county?
No.
The county is not part of MERS, but
County
it,
is in a defined contribution plan.
yes.
That's where a lot of the turnover happens. When they get into a defined benefit, they normally stay for.
Yeah, I don't think there's really been much turnover since.
The legacy cost is, if you have an employee come in and they stay less, I'm assuming they vest at 6 years?
Yes.
Okay, is it a cliff? Is it a cliff? And what I mean by that, do they vest after 2 years, 25%?
No.
3, no, it's a cliff then. At 6 years, they're vested.
You're vested.
So the question is how many employees do you have how many employees at the road commission leave before their 6-year vesting? And that's the pool that if they work somewhere else and they get credit for working somewhere else, they don't actually work here the full 6 years, but they're gonna get vested. Once they're vested, there's a legacy cost to the road commission to pay the contribution. It's all part of that contribution we have to pay for retirement. That's the legacy cost.
Okay.
But one of the other stipulations, I guess, I didn't catch was you gotta be here 30 months to even apply for it. So you gotta be here 30 months, And so basically it sounds like from 30 months to 6 years is the only time it's gonna have any kind of effect at all.
Right, so again, it's what has been our turn, the people who we hire and leave, how many leave in that prior to their 6-year vesting?
We could probably run that pretty easy, and I doubt it's gonna be too many.
I'd say we wouldn't be less than 2% even.
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
a lot of people
if
have
that.
even,
I think
once
one,
they're here, they're here. This is the biggest turnover in the last 2-3 years of people retiring.
because that's retirement.
But that's retirement, that's
But
totally
yeah,
different
that's,
thing.
that's the
That's
biggest
totally
thing,
different
that
thing.
people
Yep.
leaving,
Yep.
that's the reason they're leaving.
Well, if you could look at the numbers, make sure that is what the reality is for the last, I don't know, if you look at 10.
And there might only be 3 or 4 people even eligible to think about it right now, you know, so.
Right.
But you're also, I mean, if we were to approve this, it would be something for future hires.
Yes.
I mean, that's sort of.
It kinda gives them a little bit of,
an incentive.
after 30 months, they go, okay, well, I'm at least vested. And it kinda gives them a, hey, that did something for me. Once they're here 6 years, it doesn't matter. But,
It doesn't, if any employee that stays here 6 years,
Yep.
this has no impact on.
yes,
It's about our turnover.
Yep.
What kind of turnover do we have up to that 0 months to that 6-year months, or 6-year date, what's that turnover? And you're right, if they have to be here 30 months, that sounds like 2.5 years to me,
yes.
so.
You say, perhaps at the next meeting, they could bring us a report on that.
Yeah, we can print up and do print out the info that's on it, and then we can bring it all to you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see. We already kind of talked about the traffic summit, but anybody's invited that wants to come. It's gonna be at the city. We hosted it last year here. They're gonna host it this year. And I think that's all I got.
The biggest challenge there will be parking, if many people show up.
Yeah, I didn't think a whole lot showed up here last year.
So is this supposed to be held in the council chambers?
I believe so. I mean, we fit everybody in here just fine last year. Well, then MDOT will be there, because MDOT was online
Right.
last year.
They
So
didn't
I think
physically come.
it's gonna be in person, and they'll do like the same presentation, but it'll be in
That's
person.
only a couple people.
But it gives you something to know, this is what the city's doing, this is what the village here is doing, this is what we're doing. You know, it's what MDOT's doing, because MDOT has their portion in there too.
Yeah, I
It's
do
just some
too.
good information. And so that's really all I've got.
I have one question back to the territorial road project.
Okay.
At the last meeting, you told us that there was a issue with the consumer's power line. Has that been resolved?
Yes, it has, not in our favor. Apparently, they were issued a permit or told to use their annual maintenance permit to move that line back in 18.
They were told by who?
Well, it would have been John.
Good job.
But he should have known the bridges needed to be done. And they put a line close to the first bridge going across and right down both of the bridges for the edge, you know. So now the consumers has jumped through hoops and worked out the agreements and everything with the property owners to temporarily move it back into that easement, let us do our work, and then put it back where it was at. And so that whole thing's gonna cost us $25,000, or sorry, $35,000.
Cost us?
Yes. Because they won't do it for free, because they.
Oh, no.
They got a permit.
Yeah, consumers never did anything.
So they're gonna move it out of the right of way, let us do our work, and then when we're done, they'll move it back. It's like 20 to move it out and 15 to move it back in. Because the poles will still be there, all you gotta do is move the wire at that point. But So yes, that should have been something that was never